Okay, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. Hello, everybody. Tammy. Susan. Okay. Thank you, everybody. So this is the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. Today is March 19th, 2025. We are live streaming as well to all the folks at home who decided not to make it. It's your loss. We have a nice full crowd tonight. We have full stomachs also. We were supposed to have a different restaurant. That particular restaurant guy ended up in the hospital. So Sharky's, come on Sharky's. Sharky's was supposed to be our restaurant of the month next month, but Jane, who does all the restaurants, Maria, so much noise. Wow. So this is Carlo. Carlo is an amazing guy. My wife and I have been going to this particular Sharky's on Coldwater and Ventura Boulevard for years and years and years. He runs the best shop over there. His staff is fantastic. He's fantastic. He always has a smile. I think he had some surgery because he's always smiling. But tell us a little bit about Sharky's, and thank you. Did everybody enjoy the food?
Right there. This one's working, testing, 1, 2, 3, yeah? I'm on the spot, right? A little bit about Sharky's. We've been around since '91. We are located on the corner of Coldwater, Ventura, and Studio City. A little bit closer. Oh, okay, there we go. I'm not used to talking on the mic, sorry guys. And I don't have to speak as loud now. Nice. Okay. So we are located on the corner of Coldwater and Ventura in Studio City. It used to be the old Twain's. Twain's was a breakfast spot. And we have Saturday and Sundays, we do have breakfast. We open at 10 a.m. for breakfast, Saturday and Sundays. And we're known for our fajita plates. We're known for being a healthy, organic concept. And they're located all over LA. What else about Sharky's? Come visit us. You're going to enjoy our food, enjoy the service, and we have great people over there working.
Thank you, Carlo. All right, so all of you guys at home, you missed a great meal. Plus, Carlo was generous enough to give everybody who came here, hopefully everybody, a coupon for a taco and a separate coupon for a burrito. They're delicious. All right. Okay. So our board. Can our board members come on up here first? And then we've got a couple little housekeeping items. Come on, Larry, Bob, Jay, Maria. Come on. John. Come on, grab a mic. Introduce yourself. Everyone wants to hear what Hydee has to say tonight. So.
That's right. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Anderson. I'm a vice president of SOHA, and I'm also chair of the Transportation Committee and Fighting Metro. And a friend of mine told me the other day that he wanted me to get a food taster because they thought as hard as we're fighting, we might need to have my food tasted before I eat every day.
Evening, everybody. I'm Jay Weitzler. I'm the secretary of the organization, so I'll be taking notes. Be careful what you said.
Hi, I'm Maria Calban, and I'm also vice president and chair of the Housing and Legislative Committee. And last time I talked, I was hoping I wouldn't be addressing you on housing again for a while, but that bill's SB 79 from Scott Wiener has been released. And if we don't do something about it, this is a photograph of Sherman Oaks, and these are the areas that would be affected, which is all of us. So if we are near a bus stop, that some part of that bus route has a dedicated bus lane, anything a half mile from that point is open to 6 to 7 story apartment buildings. So we need to fight it. If you are not part of my United Neighbors email list, please send me your email, and I will send you our click and send letter that we are doing for the mayor and all the council members and our senator. So it's mpcalban, Kalban, @gmail.com, and we're going to send out a email blast probably next week. So thank you.
Just a show of hands, how many people here live within a half a mile of a transportation corridor? Okay, so if you guys don't contact her and send out an email on your behalf to all of your neighbors and your friends.
Shame on us.
Shame on you.
is M like in Mary, P like in Peter, Calban, Kalb as in boy, AN, @gmail.com, and I'll get you started.
Thank you,
Okay.
Maria. Thank you. She's a rock star.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for Maria.
She certainly is. Maria and Jeff are Larry Slade. I'm chair of the Homelessness Committee, and that is a tough act to follow.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Eisen. I'm treasurer of the association.
Thank you. We have a great board. We do a lot of work, and we have a lot of fun. So, do I have any field reps from any of the? Come on up. Also, senior lead. Any senior leads here? Hello, senior leads. And then after our report from the senior lead, we're going to have Kelly and Jody. So if you guys can work your ways up here.
Hi, everyone. Lindsay Imber, president of the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. Long time no see. Hey, everyone. This Saturday, the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council has our annual Hello Spring Tree adoption in the park. It's over at the main park building on the Houston Street side. And then we also have this year Neighborhood Council elections. If you would like to serve your community as a board member of the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council, please feel free to apply. Candidate submissions are being taken until Monday, so you have to act quick. Visit us online at shermanoaksnc.org to get started. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, just send me an email.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senior Lead Officer Mariana Romo, and I cover the, thank you, everyone. I cover the northern part of Sherman Oaks. My partner, Senior Lead Officer Saldana, he's not here tonight. He's feeling under the weather, but I'm here to represent him as well. Today, I wanted to talk about something different now that our city attorney is here. The summer is coming, and we are during those times, we do experience higher number of party houses. We are extremely working with our community law corps. I don't know if you guys are aware of our old NPP, Neighborhood Prosecutor Program. We currently have the community law corps, and we work hand in hand. I just had a meeting with one city attorney today for a party house. I asked that if there is a party, please call our non-emergency number. That is a way to document the party calls for service. If you are able to have a video of it, just be safe about it, please. Please send it to me. Any flyers that you come across this party house, any evidence that you believe will be a good value to us, please save it and forward it to me. And I will work with our city attorney representatives to deal with this concern. In the past, we have had meetings with the city attorney, myself, and the property owners or property representatives, and we come to a conclusion to hopefully decrease these party houses, and it actually works. So continue to work with your senior lead officers, myself and senior lead officer Saldana, and we'll deal with these quality of life concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Kelly is a co-chair of our Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association Beautification Committee. Kelly?
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm here to tell you a little bit about this event, our Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. We were lucky enough to be selected by Mayor Bass's office for one of her Service Day LA events, which is going to be Saturday, May 17th. It's going to be a great day to clean up Sherman Oaks. We've got a lot of different ideas about it. We're building it right now. A lot of the local schools are involved. Some of the community members are trying to bring in local businesses as well. So save the date. We'll keep you updated on this. Saturday, May 17th. What time? 8:30 to 12:30. But it's not cleaning from 8:30 to 12:30. There's only going to be a 2-hour window to clean. We're also going to have a little fair with some local businesses and city service representatives telling you about what they do.
Great, thank you. And if you want to get involved with Kelly, she loves volunteers as well. So it's a new committee. She can't do it on her own. So if you want to help clean up and beautify Sherman Oaks, see Kelly. She's staying here all night long until the last person leaves. Because she's also in charge of cleaning up this room afterwards, right? All right. So Jody has been a longtime friend of mine and a longtime community activist. She has a little report that she wants to give you. She also goes out and counts the homeless people every year. So she's in charge of that.
Thank you.
For this area.
Yeah, for this area. God, hi. So a lot of you know me from the Sherman Oaks homeless count. I'm the site coordinator and have been for about the past 4 or 5 years. I've been involved with the homeless count for probably the last 10 years. I actually live in Encino, but I work in Sherman Oaks, and so that's why I come to a lot of these meetings, and because I do the homeless count here. I have tried to get LASA, who's the lead organization that does the homeless count and is in charge of the homeless count, to pay attention to the Sepulveda Basin. And I'm in Encino, and so we are adjacent to the Sepulveda Basin, and I'm sure you guys have been aware of all the fires that we've had. Anyway, I saw Larry's thing in the newsletter about the count, and there's definitely flaws. It's not 100% perfect. But what I wanted to talk about is, for the first time since I've been doing this, which is about 8 or 10 years, I actually filed a public comment to a council file 2211-1101. Back in 2022, City Council had a motion from the Homelessness Committee to audit basically LASA and the count. I don't think anything ever happened with that, but I did make a public comment, which I'd like to read because it sort of summarizes all of the work that I've been doing. I've been trying to get the city to reevaluate the homeless count done by LASA for several years. Back in 2019, while co-chair of the Encino Neighborhood Council's Homelessness Committee, we decided to do our own homeless count in the Sepulveda Basin. LASA's number for the 2018 count was 32. Our own count was closer to 500 to 600 people. Big difference. We had asked LASA on numerous occasions who did the count in the basin and when. That question went unanswered or with a vague, "We have special teams," that go to the basins. Clearly, no one went into the basin that year. Every time I ask who these special teams are, I get rebuffed. This year, I was the site coordinator. This is back in 2022. I was the site coordinator for Sherman Oaks, and once again requested to be on the special teams, and once again was rebuffed. I witnessed firsthand that the app used to collect the data didn't always work, and there was no way to check the results to make sure that they were recorded correctly. I looked at the Sepulveda Basin count for the 2022 count and questioned the validity of the numbers. According to LASA, they said there were 52 people in the basin. I did my own count with outreach workers, and we came up with about 118, and that's without using any multipliers. I'm very much in favor of having an independent audit and review of LASA's numbers, which I continue to believe are flawed. Thank you for your time, Jody Francisco. So this year, after going to every elected official I could possibly go to, I had met with Lindsay Horvath, our county supervisor, who at the time was chair of LASA, and brought all this information to her. And lo and behold, when LASA called me about the Sherman Oaks count, I talked about the basin, and they wound up making me the co-site coordinator for the Sepulveda Basin. We divided the basin into 10 or more areas. We had the mayor's office, we had CD6, we had the county supervisor's office, we had police support, we had fire support. We had like 25 people going out into teams of 2 or 3 and counting and doing a much more comprehensive count. Now, last year, hold on one second, sorry. Last year, so I've been going in the basin and doing my own count every year since 2019. Last year, I counted about 154. That's just tick marks on a thing. Makeshift shelters, tents, etc. They use multipliers. These are not multiplied out. LASA said that there were 30 people. This is last year. So this year, these are unofficial numbers, by the way. This year, we went out and we did it with a lot of people and groups, and we divided into small sections. We walked in, and we didn't do it at night. We did it during the day. We came up with between 235 and 278 people, structures, cars, boats, RVs, whatever. For Sherman Oaks, just so you know, because Larry had touched on this, last year they said there was a 10% reduction in homelessness across the city, right? I question that, being the site coordinator. In 2023 in Sherman Oaks, we had 120. These are, again, unofficial numbers. These are taken from screenshots that I took of my dashboard as people were coming in. It's not, and they're not releasing by area, by city, by, Sherman Oaks, Encino, Valley Village. They're not releasing that anymore, which makes it really difficult to get the information. But, so for 2023, there was 120. 2024, we had 125. That's not a 10% reduction by my math, right? And then this year, 113. So maybe there was a 10% reduction this year. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. So anyway.
So what a surprise. The city numbers aren't correct. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you for doing what you do. Hydee, you want to come on up here? I also want to give a shout out. There's a gentleman in the back, Doug Kriegel. You want to stand up? Doug has been a news guy in Los Angeles for the last 125 years. He's still doing news. We love you, Doug. So if you do you want some help, Hydee? We're almost at the same height.
I agree, which is why I need to stand. I wouldn't want you looking down on me. Although after what was just said about the city, I'm not sure that I want to be up here.
Of course you want to be up here.
I'm teasing.
Well, thank you for coming, Hydee. We have a lot of questions for you, and if you guys do have any questions, please don't shout them out. If you have some questions, please write them on these Ask Your Question papers, which are in the back of the room. And just raise your hand and one of the board members will bring it on up. I guarantee you that I will not ask every question. There's some amazing questions, but we're not going to have time. And so why don't you tell us a little about yourself? Tell us a little bit about, I'm sure you have something a little prepared. I know your office just...
I never follow my talking points, so don't worry about it.
And then we'll get into the questions, but tell us a little bit about you. Are you...
First of all, thank you for having me back here. Thank you for the intro. This is my second year in a row. Let's make it an annual tradition. I actually was really impressed with a bunch of the people that stood up. So Maria, you notice on SB 79, she didn't say, and we're sending letters to the city attorney's office. That's because she doesn't need to, and she knows it, okay? I was at the forefront of opposing SB 50, SB 827, and 828. I've been in this business for a long time, and local zoning needs to build for all income levels, and we need to build housing, but local zoning is also something that local communities are in the best position to govern. And so from the standpoint of home rule, I've really been very much on the side of local municipalities. I also want to thank Lindsay, because I came out of the neighborhood council system, and so it's nice to see neighborhood councils strong and working with homeowners associations. I want to underscore Jody on the homelessness count. A lot of our dollars from the state and the feds come from that count. So it isn't just an exercise in keeping the city honest or our numbers right. I'm relatively certain that there was a 10% reduction. If you take a look at what happened on Skid Row, I don't think the mayor's office is exaggerating. Some areas in the city may have experienced an increase, but overall, when you look at the city as a whole, there was a fairly dramatic decrease. And I want to thank Kelly for Service Day. I participated in Service Day in my own district in CD10. It's a lot of fun. It's useful. It beautifies our city. Please, I want to encourage everybody to go out. Our city depends on volunteers. Every board, every commission, every neighborhood council, we don't pay any of you people, okay? And so we really, really appreciate the effort and leaning in. Okay, so my name's Hydee Feldstein Soto, and sort of to eliminate questions, both names are mine, neither is a married name. I am, in fact, a Puerto Rican Jew. I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Spanish is my original language. But I have now lived in Los Angeles since 1982, and you can do the math. I'm 66. I'll be 67 in July, God willing. I live in mid-city LA, Pico, Fairfax area with my 95-year-old mother and my 11-year-old rescue pit bull lab mix named Lucy, because she's a little clown dog. I came to this job out of private practice, okay? I am not, and I'm really not a politician. Like, if you've ever watched me, I don't know how to be a politician. But I was a lawyer in private practice at very large firms. mostly a bank lawyer, banking and finance, but I did a little bit of everything over the course of my career. And I retired. I retired the day my ex-husband asked for spousal support. It's all good. At the end of the day, I started growing heirloom tomatoes. I picked up hobbies. I traveled. I did stuff. And I served on my neighborhood council. That was my call to service. And what I found in Mid-City is that I saw the city up close and personal in a way that I didn't when I lived in Mandeville Canyon and practiced law at a big firm. I compare my time in LA as a private practitioner. I lived above ground in the daylight, and I went to the Jonathan Club at the beach, and I went out to Ojai, and I went down to, Dana Point and Pelican Hill, and I did stuff like that. Since I became the city attorney, I have become aware of so many of the difficulties that our city faces. I sometimes say I feel like a mole who went underground, and I get the privilege of witnessing and being able to do something about the underbelly of what human beings do to one another. And it's really terrible, okay? But I get the opportunity to go in and try to help and do some good. I promise, and I repeat this every time, to never run for any other elected office. I am a lawyer. That is what I am, and I like this job. I'm not really interested in being part of a legislative body. I do not have the patience to negotiate with a bunch of other legislators, and I'm not interested in being the mayor. I think it's the worst job in LA. You wind up getting blamed for everything, okay, and you get the credit for nothing. So I've become very good friends with Madam Mayor, but I don't want her job. Isn't that refreshing from a city attorney? I want to tell you 2 minutes about my office, because I'm very proud that I'm the first female city attorney, and I'm the first Latina elected to citywide office in any capacity. My job is much bigger than I thought, and I thought I knew what I was doing. Okay, I worked on multi-billion-dollar deals, I ran big teams, I was global co-head of a practice group. I really thought I knew what I was doing. So let's break down my job. Number one, I have about 1,000 employees, and they are divided in 5 unions. I am the only non-union employee in my office. It is a closed shop. And you haven't lived until you've tried to manage unionized lawyers. My job, I have 2 clients. Client number 1 is the municipal corporation that is the City of Los Angeles, and that is all of the departments and boards and proprietary departments of the city. So I'm the general counsel for the Los Angeles World Airports. That would probably be a Fortune 500 company if it were privatized. I am the general counsel to the Port and Harbor of Los Angeles. Yes, I've had to learn about the Coastal Act and the Tidelands Act and marine law and all kinds of stuff. I am the general counsel to the small gift that keeps on giving, otherwise known as the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. I am general counsel to all of the departments in the city, from animal services to the zoo and everything in between. We staff every Brown Act meeting that the city has, and with 225 boards, commissions, and departments meeting at least once a month, and most of them meeting once or twice a week, it's a big job. And in that capacity, we give advice. We draft every ordinance. We review or draft every contract that the city does over $25,000. We are on the phone all the time, constantly helping our clients navigate the complexities of public life and the obligations imposed by federal and state law, and navigate the internal policies in the best way that we can as a body. In addition to that, I'm the general counsel to 17 other elected officials, ranging from our controller and the mayor to the 15 members of city council. You'd think that's a big enough job, right? I'm also responsible for defending the city in litigation, every lawsuit brought, civil litigation. We act as a shield. And I'm responsible for the prosecution of I'm still on the city. And I formed a real estate branch. And the reason I formed a separate real estate branch is because so much of the corruption in the city of LA had taken place in the area of real estate. And so I wanted to pull out all the real estate work, put it in its own branch, and make it transparent. And so that's what I've done. The other client, besides the city of Los Angeles, is the people of the state of California. And I represent the people of the state of California in two capacities. One is civil. I do civil prosecutions, consumer protection, environmental justice. Party house cases would fall under my 17-200 actions. Price gouging falls under my 17-200 actions. Wage theft, protection of kids, a lot of internet pornography involving minors, flavored tobacco near schools and enforcing that, consumer products, they're false and misleading advertising. That all falls under what I formed as a public rights branch. So I took a bunch of lawyers and a bunch of support staff and I put them in their own department. It's called Public Rights, has about 42 people in it, and all they do is represent the people. All they do is bring cases to protect the public. And then the last piece of my branch is I am responsible for the prosecution of misdemeanors committed by adults within the city limits of Los Angeles. That is a mouthful, but here's the simple basis. If the suspect or defendant is under 18, it goes to the DA, Nate Hochman, because the county does dependency in minor kids. It doesn't come to me. If the crime is punishable or potentially punishable by the loss of liberty of more than a year in jail, it goes to Nate Hochman. My jurisdiction is limited to 364 days. So what are the bulk of my cases? You might say, oh, that doesn't sound like they're very serious, Hydee. You would be amazed at what comes to my office. A lot of domestic violence, a lot of child sex abuse, a lot of hate crimes, okay, a lot of bullying, a lot of theft, a lot of DUIs and DUIDs. There's a whole litany of cases that come into my office that are pretty serious. We get 55,000 criminal referrals a year. Okay, and we get, I don't know, maybe 6,000 civil litigation cases a year. And so we're busy. We're understaffed and we're busy. I have a bunch of questions that were asked of me. I'm happy to talk about specific matters, but I think I'd rather leave time for you all to ask me things that are of interest to you, rather than my continuing to ramble about how wonderful I am.
So, thank you. I feel extremely awkward sitting here while you're standing.
You know, it's good for the waistline. I'm going to meet my activity bars on my watch. There you go. Don't worry about it.
All right. And if I stand, then you're going to feel extremely awkward.
No, I won't feel extremely awkward. It's quite all right, Matt. You do whatever you want.
Yeah. So over the last couple of years, I've had the privilege of getting to know Hydee well. And it's been an honor. It's been I don't always agree with your positions on everything, but again, you are a fighter, and I appreciate it. You have you kind of closed with you're understaffed and you've got a lot of workload. But something happened today in the city of Los Angeles that I was not surprised, and I don't think a lot of people in this room was surprised. But the number was big, with the city budget being close to $1 billion under budget. $1 billion under budget. So you can fix something like that by either raising more revenues, or you can fix something like that by spending less. So, you know, talk to me about that. Your office is, are you gonna, talk to me. What do you think about that $1 billion number? And are you surprised?
No, I've been part of the conversations. I have to be careful. I'm a lawyer, and so I can't tell you what my clients say or what they plan to do, but if you break down what goes into that shortfall. Number one, revenues are going to be much, much lower than projected. A lot of that is the drop in property taxes. One of the main sources of funding for the city is property taxes, and one of our wealthiest areas, okay, has just been decimated. And we as a city have been at the forefront of saying we don't want people to have to be paying mortgage on the old place, rent, and a mortgage or a construction loan to rebuild, property taxes, insurance on 2 places. So we have been relatively supportive of some of the requests for relief that have been in Sacramento, understanding that it's going to hit our pocket more than anybody else's. So some of it is we're adjusting our budget to that reality. What are the other sources of revenue for the city? Try gross receipts tax, okay? Business tax for the city. Lots of businesses have shut down. Lots of businesses have left, okay? The city of Los Angeles is experiencing a very serious drop in gross receipts tax. There's other parts of the revenue, but those are the 2 biggest losses, and for some reason I have a flying ant on my card. So there we go. I don't want to kill the baby. The liability side is a problem, and I'm going to take 2 minutes for a soft pitch. When I came into office, what I realized is juries hate the city. Okay, when you all sit on a jury, you probably hate our guts. Please understand, every dollar you award is your money. Every dollar that makes a multimillionaire out of somebody who, you know, was called a bad word at work, okay, or somebody who crossed at a crosswalk and got hit by a car, and we weren't anywhere near it, okay, but the claim is that we should have put a street light in, we get tagged. And we get tagged for big dollars. I don't think that, I mean, the liabilities when I took office, the whole budget had been spoken for by what was called structured settlements. Because what we had been doing under prior administrations was, instead of paying a settlement, we would agree to pay a big number, but we would pay it out over 2 or 3 years like an annuity. So I came into office with a cliff of hangover settlements, and I came into office with the backlog of litigation from COVID. And so have our liabilities been higher than what the city budgeted me for? Yeah, they have been. Have they been higher than what I asked for? Not so much, okay? Last year, I asked for $250 million for liabilities because I thought that was realistic. The budget gave me $80 million. So I'm sorry that I was right. I apologize, but I knew I was right. So the deficit is quite big, and I don't think working on revenues is going to be great. There's very little that we can do in the way of expenses, so let's break it down. Most of the city's budget is payroll. We have 38,000 employees. I suspect the CAO is likely to talk to unions about the recent increases that were given. I suspect that there isn't anything that isn't on the table. What I would say is that we have certain departments in the city charter. Those are the departments that must survive in accordance with our charter. And from my days in restructuring, when you have a patient in extremis, instead of doing a flat across the board 10% effort to cut, what you do is you take a look at what are the vital organs, because you can't afford to lose 10% of your heart, and what are the extremities that you can trim for now, and hopefully, like a lizard regrows its tail, will come back. But I do think that our Office of Finance, our council, our mayor, and my office in support are very engaged on what do we do.
So not only do juries dislike the city of Los Angeles, but there's a horrible thing that's going on in the state, and there should be tort reform. And as an attorney with your friends up in Sacramento, businesses are, juries hate businesses too. And the way that the state of California works is that these contingency attorneys look to, like you're saying, a traffic accident, and they go and you should have gone ahead and done something like that. It's the same with businesses. Businesses are not coming to California because California is not business friendly. And anybody who quits a job today goes and files workman's compensation, goes ahead and gets denied workman's compensation, they get referred to a contingency attorney. And if the contingency attorney takes it to jury, which they usually like to do, and they get $1 for their person, and they have hundreds and hundreds. They have these attorney mills. If they get $1 for their person, guess what? The attorney gets paid all of his attorney's fees. And that's what's happening with the city
Which
of
could
Austin.
be $3 million.
It could easily be $3 million. So why, again, tort reform is a simple fix to that. So maybe businesses will come back to California, but there's a big reason why the only businesses left in California aren't the Fortune 100, aren't the Fortune 500. They're the little mom and pops that are being driven out of business by every single, what do we see? What do you guys see on TV when you go home at night? How many law offices? You were injured at work, you were injured on the job, when I was growing up, it was, you want to be go to secretarial school, you want to go ahead and be a truck master school of trucking. But tort reform is an easy fix, right?
Not in Sacramento. Okay, so let's be clear. The most politically active forces in California politics, yes, labor, okay, which we all know about. Yes, real estate developers, which we also all know about. But what you may not know is the trial lawyers associations and the plaintiffs' bar is a very powerful political force. The likelihood that you're going to get comprehensive tort reform in the next year or 2 or 3, honestly, is negligible. I have taken a bill to Sacramento. I took it last year. I couldn't get anybody to author it. I am hopeful it will be introduced this year, but I've had to scale back my expectations. So what I have done is I've limited myself to 2 types of litigation that are really abusive, okay? One is employment litigation, where an employee of the city who, makes $100,000 or $150,000 a year sues because they worked under a supervisor they didn't like for 18 months, and a jury awards $14 million. And yes, that's a real case. It's okay. It is what it is. We settled it at 6 because they knew it wouldn't stand up on appeal. But $6 million is still 100 times too high. Okay, it's 100 times too high for 18 months of working under a supervisor you didn't like. So employment cases are a bugaboo. The second area is what's called dangerous condition. Dangerous condition is the kind of case where the city is nowhere near the incident. We're not there. Okay, it's not our vehicle. It's not our employee. It's nothing that we did. The allegation is that the intersection or the uplifted sidewalk or the whatever, okay, created a dangerous condition so that the idiot on a scooter who was riding without a helmet and wound up with traumatic brain injury sues me, okay? That's, I shouldn't say me, sues the city. Those are the 2 kinds of cases in which we have seen the greatest abuse. So I have a bill that I'm hopeful will get introduced that says that on those 2 areas where the city, where a municipality is the defendant, where you're talking about public funds being used to pay, I want to limit what's called the soft costs. Okay, so it's not, if you get hurt and you prove that it's my dangerous condition and your medicals were $20,000, okay, and you're going to have increased medicals over your lifetime of another $40,000, so you get $60,000. My bill says that for your pain, anxiety, distress, whatever you want to call it, all of the soft stuff that people allege, you can get the greater of. I had to change it to the greater of, okay? 3 times your actual costs or $1 million. What's my theory? If you don't have at least $330,000 of actual out-of-pocket damages, including a life care plan, $1 million is enough of a lottery ticket, with all due respect. And if we're that bad, it's punitive enough to a city. It hits 7 figures. I patterned it after medical malpractice, and I've limited it to protection of municipalities because I had to. Otherwise, it would never pass. Even with those limitations, I'm not sure it will be introduced, and I'm not sure it will get through, but it has much broader support than ever before, and I've started the conversation.
Okay. So we have a bunch of questions. So if you can answer all these questions in less than 30 seconds each, we can get through all of them. It's not going to happen. So the first group of questions I want to focus on number 1, front and center for folks here in this area is the homeless issues. So, and these are not questions from me, Hydee, these are questions from the audience. So, Julie Harmon, are you here? You want to raise your hand? Okay, so Julie lives over by Library Square, not too far from here. Julie has been a longtime resident, a homeowner. It's over by Moore Park and in between Hazeltine and Van Nuys Boulevard. Great, lovely neighborhood. There's a beautiful library there that was rebuilt about 20, 25 years ago. And directly, and there's a beautiful, is it Whole Foods? Whole Foods. One of their premier stores was built there about 6 or 7 years ago. Great neighborhood. She has been dealing with, for 7 years, a few people, but one person in particular, who has one of these RVs parked on the street. She's called our city council person multiple times. She's called LAPD, she's called CHP, LADOT, called Caltrans, parking enforcement. This is a quality of life issue. What's the quick fix here, Hydee?
There is none, is the short version. If the person is living in their RV, they're obeying the street sweeping stuff where they're moving their RV to opposite side, they're not. I'll talk to you about it. My community law court can talk to you about it. I have 2 RVs on my block, okay? People are quiet. They don't come out. They don't create a problem. They don't create a nuisance. They move for street sweeping, okay? One of them's a little old lady with her cat. The other one is a couple, and they're very quiet, and they're all elderly. We, the city, will not do anything about that situation if you call. If there are other effects on the neighborhood, that's stuff we can do something about. We have done a lot of RV clearance work in CD 7, CD 11, CD 6, and CD 12. Your council member has to ask us to do it.
Our council member does not return constituent calls, so we've got an issue with that. This is Julie's number, so that's her email, so you can reach out to her afterwards if you can help her.
Okay.
Without the council person. Thank you. So how does your office prioritize prosecuting crimes committed by homeless individuals who may also be suffering from mental illness?
The mental illness issue, typically, we try to get into care courts or mental health courts because the issue is confinement in a way that doesn't harm the person, but also doesn't allow them to continue to harm the community, and creates an environment, hopefully for treatment as well as for public safety. I get very few cases like that where A, we do prosecute, and B, when we prosecute, the courts will typically divert. So it depends on what the issue is. The guy with the machete, that we prosecuted, okay? A crazy person standing on the street yelling and screaming, even if I took it to court, the judges would just look at me and say, thank you very much, goodbye. So we try to do neighborhood justice program. We have over 250 volunteers in a restorative justice program, and we try to bring people to a city attorney hearing to connect them with resources. I have community outreach court the 3rd Thursday of every month from 9 to 12 downtown. That's something my administration started, and we encourage folks who are unhoused to come there to get connected to services and take care of their legal issues.
So there was I believe it was a federal court hearing that said that we cannot have homeless people under underpasses.
God bless Judge Carter, the Alliance case.
Okay, so that has been ignored by the city of Los Angeles as far as the enforcement to remove those folks, and we saw what happened under, I believe it was the 10, with the pallets that caught on fire and destroyed the freeway. A lot of these homeless folks do light fires. If you go down Sherman Oaks, there's at Sepulveda and Ventura, I'm sorry, the 101 freeway, Sepulveda, also on Van Nuys Boulevard, right down the street here. There's a huge burn mark on the side, from their camps. But there was also a court hearing recently about, I believe it was a federal court, that said that the city does have the authority and should be taking care of these encampments. So what are we doing as a city for the underpasses, and what are we doing as a city as far as these large encampments?
We operate under a number of settlement agreements and under a statute that sort of constricts what my office can do. So let me start by saying that my office doesn't investigate, okay? We take referrals from investigating authorities, so whether it's the LAPD, the Sheriff's Department, the Department of Housing, the Department of Sanitation, the Department of Building and Safety, we get a referral on a violation. And then that referral is what we use to bring a criminal prosecution. We don't use anything else. Under the rules of professional conduct, my prosecutors are supposed to stay independent. They're not supposed to be out there talking to homeowners associations. It's part of the problem with the neighborhood prosecutor program, as opposed to the community law corps. The way the rules of professional conduct work, your prosecutor is supposed to stay independent. What we can do with encampments, unfortunately, we will enforce, or the police will enforce 4118. That is limited to zones around schools and districts, and it is also limited to council members who will request encampment cleanup. Okay, I will just tell you that right now. So many council districts are much more active in requesting enforcement and cleanup. The less active ones are 1, 4, and 13, just quite candidly. My office will respond to a request for assistance. I think prosecution is a blunt tool, honestly, for most enforcement without coupling it with a Section 8 voucher or a place to put folks, because all you're doing is just shifting them. So we need to be sure that to the extent people are living on our streets, they are not doing so in a way that jeopardizes our community or compromises public safety. My office drafted a brief in Grants Pass that got me in a whole lot of trouble with both the left and the right, so it's fine. My job as city attorney was to defend the city's ordinance. The city's ordinance is 4118, and so that's what I filed to do, and by the way, I prevailed.
By the way, the last two questions were from Stacy and Larry. Thank you. I forgot to credit you guys on those, sorry. I'm kind of skipping a little bit because you had said something that I was surprised at. You said your office does not do any investigative
Except in public rights, where we have 5 investigators.
Okay. So Jay Weitzler wants to know, so the last few years, it's shown that the city of Los Angeles is the most corrupt large city in the United States. Having oversight systems been established by your office to ensure that the city council and other city employees pay to play is not happening, or is that just doesn't happen?
No, let me tell you what I've done, okay? Because there are things that I've done for the city as a whole and things that I've taken care of inside my own office, okay? Because it is not my job to police my client, except to the extent it's inconsistent with the city charter. So, number one, I'm enforcing the competitive bidding procedures of the city charter. It has taken an awful lot of training of my city departments to do that. I think I had to reject close to 300 agreements from the Department of Water and Power before they realized, oh yes, she really means it. She is not going to approve contracts without competitive bidding. We have to do an RFP. I've taken the RFP form and I've reduced it from 28 pages to 6. So hopefully that makes life easier for everybody. I have put a certification into every city contract that certifies that the signatory on behalf of the city has no direct or indirect personal, financial, familial, or other pecuniary interest in the subject matter of the contract or the contracting party. That may seem like an obvious thing. It just wasn't in anything. I have put a provision in the agreements that my office signs with outside counsel and in the settlement agreements with plaintiffs' counsel that says that they acknowledge and agree that they can't pay referral fees or anything else of value or any remuneration to anybody in the city for city business or for the subject matter of the litigation that we are settling. I have given out the mandate to my real estate group that we do not accept industry-drafted ordinances. So my office used to take an ordinance from a developer for a specific plan, and we would just kind of rubber stamp it and send it on. We don't do that anymore. We are inserting ourselves earlier in the process before an ordinance gets to CPC. I do limit myself to legal issues, okay? I don't do policy. I don't tell council you can't do this or you can't do that. I do try to limit to legal issues, but I'm doing it. I have had my own lawyers change the way in which they draft recommendations to city council for settlement. If we recommended a settlement, we used to draft a very one-sided piece of paper that says, this is why we're recommending this settlement. And if we recommended against settlement, we drafted a very one-sided piece of paper. We are now doing very balanced closed session reports that say, on the one hand, on the other hand, these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses, this is what you need to take into account. And by the way, our recommendation is for the following reasons, but it provides council with a basis on which to disagree with us. I have, in terms of my own office, set up a lockbox. So my employees are no longer handling cash. This may come as a shock to you, but any city employee can send out an invoice on behalf of the city. I have 38,000 employees in the city. Any city employee can say, send a check to the attention of me, Al Franken, made payable to the city of Los Angeles. As I know from prior lifetimes doing suspicious activity reports and bank fraud investigations, that is a very dangerous practice. I have zero evidence that a single dime has ever gone astray, okay? I just want to make that clear. I have not looked backwards. I have not investigated. It's none of my business. But what I have done in my own office is implemented best practices for cash management. And my employees are no longer touching checks, and they shouldn't be, okay? A legal secretary who's making $78,000 a year should not be collecting a $4 million check for delivery to somebody. That's not in accordance with any good financial practice I've ever heard of.
So when a city council representative or when a DWP representative is corrupt, that comes from, the investigation on that comes from the federal government, not the city of Los Angeles?
It comes from the district attorney.
Okay.
It comes from the Ethics Commission for the City of Los Angeles. It comes from the U.S. Attorney, or it comes from the State Attorney General. I do not investigate or charge my own clients, okay, on issues related to their job. If I happen to have a Department of Sanitation worker who gets caught drunk driving, we will prosecute the DUI. It is not job related. But when someone is in their official capacity and official duties, we won't defend them. We won't defend criminal charges.
And who appoints the ethics commissioners?
I appoint one theoretically, but it's for a term of years, so I'm not going to get an appointment unless I'm reelected. The mayor appoints one, the council president appoints one, the controller appoints one, and I don't remember who the fifth one is.
I knew the answer to that.
You're bad. You were just testing me.
No,
this is a test of the emergency broadcasting system.
I was just making a point that what is it? The fox is watching the hen house. I mean, it's ethics. Interesting. Speaking of interesting,
I cleaned my own house.
So there's an election coming up. Are you running for city attorney again for a second term?
I am.
Anyone running against you?
I actually didn't have a challenger until about 10 days ago. A young woman filed to run against me. Graduated from Yale Law School in 2017. Was an intern volunteer with my office, but claims to have been a deputy city attorney for a year.
Is this person? I just curious. Are they supported or endorsed by the DSA?
As far as I know, she was in fact a DSA member. I think she has disclaimed it, but yes, she was originally with the DSA.
Okay, just curious. Not that there's anything wrong with the DSA. There isn't. It's they have the right to. Let me ask you something on the DSA. I'm just curious because you mentioned something earlier about the Brown Act, and the Brown Act, as far as everything happening in full disclosure, right? Any public meeting is to be with it's council members. How many council members have to meet in order to have
A quorum?
a quorum? It's a quorum?
For city council to act, you need a quorum. I
Okay.
believe a council quorum, 8 is a majority of the council. I think it's also the quorum. To override the mayor, you'd need 10. So typically, they won't go
Okay.
without 10. Right, exactly. So typically, it's going to be 10 members. It's rare that we have fewer than 12 members at a council meeting. Someone might miss from time to time because they're sick, but they typically have that. By the way, I do want to correct you on one thing. There are Brown Act exceptions. Okay? Settlement agreements are an exception. Litigation strategy and litigation discussions are an exception. Personnel investigations, personnel hiring, sensitive contract negotiations, especially on real estate, are exceptions. But yes, by and large, the business of the public needs to be conducted in public.
Okay. Let's shift gears again to the mayor's office. The mayor's had a little bit of public spotlight on her recently.
Always.
Well, a little bit more than normal. But does the city attorney's office have any role in warning or advising the mayor or the city council members of pending state legislation that could adversely affect city ordinances or policies? And that question is actually from Maria Calvin, in case you couldn't have guessed.
Let's separate pending and actual. We have the obligation to advise our clients on the effect of federal and state law on our ordinances. And when they ask us to draft an ordinance, sometimes it varies from what they asked us to draft because we need to vary it to conform to state or federal law. I take my role as a lawyer very seriously. I do not substitute my judgment for my clients. So if they want to pass an ordinance on X topic, whether or not I agree with it, I will draft it as true to their intent as I possibly can, within the bounds of the Constitution, the Charter, okay, and state and federal law that apply to us. I am often asked for my opinion, and that's between me and the clients. I had city council and the mayor support the bills that I took up to Sacramento last year, and they are in full support of the bills that I've taken up to Sacramento this year, including my damages cap, God willing, if it gets introduced. I don't insert myself in the summary of it, okay? The city has lobbyists in Sacramento, and the legislative analyst for council, Sharon So, and the mayor's in-house lawyers who are on loan from my office, David Michelson and Ruth Kwan, really advise the other electeds on policy issues, on pending legislation. I don't arrogate that privilege for myself. I will give them advice and opinion if asked.
So Larry Slade wants to know, have you ever had to push back against the mayor or the city council on legal matters where you believe their policies were legally questionable?
If I did, I would never answer that question in public. I can't answer that question. I'm a lawyer.
Well, then the next question I'm sure you can answer then. Can you provide an example?
Let me put it to you this way. It's very funny because what I've said to my clients, okay, because for a long time, a lot of the departments would say, it's with the city attorney. Don't blame me if it's too late. Talk to the city attorney. That's the city attorney. My view of my role is I don't contradict my clients in public. I don't call them liars in public, even when they're lying. They're my clients.
Okay.
I'm just saying. It's not always with my office, just so you know.
So, again, we as a community have probably the only time we've ever experienced this, a big disconnect between our city council person and issues. So something else, and the disconnect is she doesn't respond to us. So she basically ignores the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, the neighborhood council, refuses to meet with us, refuses to meet with the neighborhood council. So issues such as homelessness, reporting, enforcement is we're stuck. But the other issue we have is the party houses, and we have two questions on that. In two different neighborhoods of Sherman Oaks. They're both at Airbnbs, but these party houses continue, and our senior lead talked about it, and our police department is fantastic, and our police department does respond, and we completely support them, and they completely support us. If there's an issue that comes to you from the Los Angeles Police Department, like a party house, and comes to you guys for enforcement,
We do it.
you'll do it.
That's
Okay.
us. That's prosecutorial discretion, entirely up to us.
Okay.
We have resolved over 2,000, okay?
Okay.
Party house and nuisance properties just through CLC, which was established in September of 2023. So that's literally a year and a half that they've been in operation, and they do a fabulous job. In addition to CLC, I'm the first administration that has people in my executive office dedicated to community outreach, to responding to community requests, to pursuing nuisance properties. So in addition to CLC, we have the public rights branch that brings nuisance abatement actions all the time. And you have Kevin James, who's sitting at the table. Thank you for being here today, Kevin. And Danette Garcia of my office, and Stacy Shore of my office. And all of them focus on being responsive. Stacy is more focused on tenants, honestly. I don't have like a tenants' rights group because council has never given me funding for that. But in a city where you have 70% tenants, to not have somebody devoted to addressing tenant issues seemed crazy to me. So I hired somebody to do that. And then Kevin and Danette are more the traffic cops that decide whether to send something to public rights or CLC or the criminal branch. Please start with CLC. They are fabulous.
And Kevin James is fantastic, so he's a great asset for you and your team.
He bribed you to say that, right?
No, just met him tonight for the first time.
There you go.
So Jerry, are you in the room? Or are you at home? Probably at home. Who wrote the question about the party house? And who else was it? Bob Anderson, you are. You have a party house up the street from you. So you can reach out. You can.
Did you give me the address? In my administration? Before it's the...
You're going to talk to their office now. They're going to enforce it along with...
Yeah, you can talk to Ellen Evans at Doheny. You can talk to Anastasia Mann at the Hollywood Hills. You could talk to Windsor Square. I mean, we have resolved party houses that were endemic problems for years. We've brought big lawsuits. We sued the Nightfall Group. And we've brought another lawsuit against a group of individuals, mostly Russian-based, who were basically taking RSO units and short-term renting them out for events. Was there a dead body inside? Yeah, look, we will do nuisance abatement. We will bring those kinds of actions.
Okay. Well, I think we covered a full spectrum, a full wide range of questions. I thank you very, very much. You want to close with anything, or are you good?
I want to talk for a minute about what my priorities have been, because I didn't really talk about that.
You mean in your bid for mayor of Los Angeles?
I've been busy protecting kids, okay? Whether it's flavored tobacco near schools, whether it's my project on the Figueroa Corridor for the sex trafficking of minors. I don't really care what adult sex workers do, okay? I shouldn't say that. It's against the law. It's just not my priority. I have limited resources. But anybody who's a child should not be paraded around on streetwalker clothes by her. And it's mostly her. There were a couple of boys in it, but shouldn't be paraded around by pimps making money off of their bodies. We have rescued 223 individuals off the Figueroa Corridor since I took office. We have sent out over 2,000 Dear John letters, okay, because we're not interested in treating the sex workers as criminals. We're interested in helping them get to services and treating the Johns and the apex predators as the problem. With the Johns, it's mostly a question of re-education. With the pimps and the folks profiting at the top, we have, I think, referred 68 matters to the DA's office. I'm sorry? Apex, A-P-E-X. The way the trafficking works, you've got a bottom who's both a prostituted sex worker and manages other workers. We're sort of focused on the people at the top of the food chain. We've done a lot of work moving that model for Figueroa Street, which looks much better, to the Sepulveda track. So we're going to be trying to do that in the valley. And we're moving into Venice, MacArthur Park. If you have neighborhoods that are a problem for you, and we are focused on crime. Okay, we are focused on sex trafficking, we are focused on fentanyl, we are focused on drug dealing, we are focused on motels and places that have become crime magnets. Please let us know. We've closed crime magnet motels. We've had over 200 perpetrators and pimps either cited, arrested, or charged, and we have nearly 2,000 adult men who've received Dear John letters for engaging in prostitution with minors. Please help us do that work. We're actively looking for environmental projects to bring. We were involved in the Atlas metal workers, where they were shooting scrap metal into a schoolyard. We brought an environmental lawsuit on hazmat against XPO. We've brought the lawsuit on PFAs and Forever Chemicals. One of my prosecutors got the award for Wildlife Prosecutor of the Year from Fish and Game. So we're trying very hard to preserve our environment, and I'd like it to be a priority in the upcoming year. We are here to serve. Everyone in the city is here to help the city deliver better services, to pull us together, and to help us all get to the next stage, whether that's bringing back businesses, whether that is helping our residents live comfortably. The two communities in our city that are the most scared right now, because I've heard from both of them, are the immigrant community and the trans community. And so I have engaged outside counsel on a pro bono basis. We have elected not to be at the forefront of lawsuits against the federal administration, A, because they don't directly affect us right now, and B, because we're asking the federal government for literally billions of dollars of aid in FEMA for the Palisades and to help us with the World Cup, the Super Bowl, and the Olympics. There's usually a method to our madness. If you have any question on your mind as to why we're doing something, provided that you're not making inquiry into privileged communications between me and one of my clients, I'm more than happy to answer. Thank you very much for having me.
Let's hear it for Hydee.